Alright, welcome to the series In the Beginning. This is basically a storytelling series that tells the past prior to the current video series. Now, current video series is a live type run, so not a lot of editing. It's basically straight recordings that are unedited, and you get a straight run through. This one's a little different. This series is a storytelling series that tells the past so that you can get to understand what's happening in the live story. So we'll go ahead and just have at it and have a good time.
So, I actually want to start doing something a little different here. Along with the everyday recordings, I really actually think it would be better for everyone to see and actually hear about how this all started. I think it's going to clarify a lot of what's happening. It's all a little bit scattered, I feel, right now. And I'm going to start back in the beginning. For me and Beauty, we were the first ones introduced. Originally, there was actually supposed to be 5 of us introduced at the beginning, about 2 to 3 months apart, I think. But I'd like to talk a little bit about the beginning, and then I'm going to start illustrating things, showing you things, and giving you updates as to how this all took place. And this is going to be part of a series. And in the very beginning of what we were doing, me and Beauty we were born into the world church. Both of us were different factions. There's all sorts of factions part of the world church. But they all have their roots in an older church. It's an older church. Prior to the formation of the world church itself. And so, being traditionalists as me and my wife were, and we had these feelings for traditionalism, and including her mother and my mother and parents, and they all sort of were traditionalists, and albeit some more traditional than others. I believe my parents may have gone a little bit more extreme on traditionalism, but regardless, that's what we were. And so we went back to the older way because of that traditionalism and really started studying. And we were brought back to the roots of things by archaeology. We really loved the fact that archaeology is not something you can argue. It's the robot's trying to vacuum. Give me a moment. Set schedule for that thing. Schedule got messed up on it. Let me see if I can get this back to here. Alright. Like I said, we went back to the roots and we were really just studying archaeology. And we were actually presented with a documentary series, which was a bit odd at the time, because it was from a famous documentary company. But it was done in a way that was different than the kind of documentaries they do. Well, anyways, we watched the documentary. And in the documentary, there was a woman who talked about the sexual nature of the ancient first church. And not that it was like absurdly sexual, but they didn't have negative feelings towards sexuality like we do now in the world church. And that was like a little bit shocking because we were trying to live out a life that was based on the ancient church. But the woman left her name and email address for anyone to contact. Now that was what seemed so odd to me. I mean, televised to millions of people probably type of documentary. And she leaves her email, so her personal email, so everybody can get a hold of her. But we didn't think of it too much at the time. We were just excited that we could get a hold of someone. So we started emailing her back and forth. And she lived in the actual location where the ancient church came from. Well, through our correspondences with her, we discovered that the ancient church was even more ancient than we thought, and it went back to ancient paganism. It had its roots in Mesopotamian religion, and it really was a pagan religion in itself. Even in the ancient church, there's texts that still remained that spoke of the Father God having a wife. Now, we were under the impression the Father God was the only God, and it was not a dual God mentality. But finding that out was a big shocker to us. Well, not long after that, after going through all this journey of finding out what the ancient church was and realizing that leaning towards more paganism, that's when it was revealed to me who I was.